morning, everyone, and welcome back to the National Youth Parliament. And we had a first press conference that is talking about upcoming elections, and now the elections are done, and we've just it. Now we want to officially announce the results. It was a very rigorous process, from the nomination to the vetting of candidates, having our specific candidates in all the constituencies across the country. And now we have our results, those who have won in their constituencies, and that is what exactly what we are coming to tell you people, so that you can also share it to the outside world. So we are really sorry for starting late. First is because of the rain and also other issues as well. But we are here to start now. So first of all, let me introduce my table here, the panel. That is, this is Mr. Chair, Bob Kanyang. He is the chairperson of the National Youth Parliament Election Committee. He will be giving us the overview of the election and also the results. So next you have the able clerk of the National Youth Parliament, that is Abdullah Ba. He will also give us an overview of the National Youth Parliament and other related matters with regards to the election. So I will start with Abdullah Ba, the able clerk, to tell us an overview of the NYP and other notifications.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the National Youth Parliament, and thank you very much for bearing with us to start this process a bit late. However, we will now be able to carry on with this and finish it within a very short period of time. Just to be official on the statement that we have with regards to the election, distinguished members of the media, respected partners, honorable stakeholders, fellow young people of the Gambia, good morning and welcome to the history that the National Youth Parliament has made. Today we are not just gathered in this room to hold a press conference. We are gathered to mark a revolution in youth leadership. The day when Gambian youth didn't just demand inclusion, they made it happen. The day when the dream of youth-led democracy moved from vision to reality. The day we proved that young people are not waiting for a seat at the table, they are building the table themselves. As clerk and administrative head of the National Youth Parliament, the Gambia, and as a young Gambian who believes deeply in the promises of our generation, I sit before you today with immense pride, not only because we have conducted an election, but because we have set a national precedent, one that proves that political participation, civic duty, and transformational leadership can begin and it can thrive with young people at the center of it. For the first time in the National Youth Parliament's history, we have moved beyond closed-door congresses and electoral colleges. We dismantled the old gatekeeping models and opened the floodgates of democracy. We designed a system where every constituency, all 53, could have their young people elect a representative through direct paper ballot voting. No shortcuts, no selections, just the voices of the young people. As part of this process, 23,111 young people registered to vote. Out of this, 149 of these young people contested in an election. And out of that, we have over 10,378 young Gambians who showed up and cast their ballots, many of them first-time voters, driven not by politics, but by purpose. This election was not just an event, it was a movement for us at the National Youth Parliament. It was a national awakening, a call to power, to responsibility, and to ownership. And we answered that all. We did so without institutional luxury. We had no initial budgets, no secure grants, no logistical guarantees. What we had was a burning conviction that young people must lead and the courage to act on it. We worked day and night, walking long distances, crossing different regions, sleeping on the floors, and sacrificing our own comforts, all so that others could rise and be heard. We conducted a peaceful, fair, and transparent election against all of these odds. Every polling station was open, every ballot was counted on the spot in the presence of candidate agents and witnesses. That was what responsible youth leadership looks like: resilient, firm, and ethical. Let me pause here to recognize the silent heroes of this entire journey. Because as clerk of the National Youth Parliament, if I do not do this, I am not doing justice to the people who contributed immensely to making sure that this election was a success. First, I will start with the Gambia Police Force, who joined us in each polling station, making sure that elections were conducted peacefully. But also, I want to send a special thanks to the Independent Electoral Commission, who took time to train our volunteers, but train us ourselves to ensure we are able to conduct these elections amicably. But they do not just stop at that. They equally joined us in the polling stations to ensure that these elections were carried with integrity. I also want to send a special thanks to UNFPA, the European Union, and other partners who took their funds, trusting young people and spending it in making sure that we conduct an election that was free and fair. I also want to send a special thanks to the Arts Academy, an organization that is made up of only young Gambians who are responsible and responsive enough to be able to create our ballot boxes, the ones that we use for our elections. For the first time in this country, we cannot say anything less than a very big thank you. I also reserve the right to send a special thanks to our volunteers, our observers, the media, and the passionate youth who serve behind the scene. This victory belongs to all of you, particularly the staff of the National Youth Parliament, who by far has gone against all of the odds to ensure that this election happened, regardless of whatever funds were available. I also want to send a special appreciation to Babukar Nyang, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, together with his team of dedicated young people, whose vision, transparency, and tireless work have steered this process with integrity. This young man that sits right next to me here is someone that this country is supposed to be proud of, because he took everything and sacrificed every other thing for his life during the past 2 or 3 months to ensure that this election was conducted. He will wake up us as early as whatever you know, but he will also stay with us in this office as late as you know, just to ensure that this election goes on smoothly. And this goes without a penny that we have given him. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Permit me also to thank Jenna Banjai of the UNFPA, not just for her role in the election committee, but also for believing in youth of the Gambia. Through her work at the UNFPA as the program analyst for adolescents and youth, she has supported a series of life-changing programs for young people. She goes above and beyond to support youth and children. That's worth my mention. Thank you very much, Jenna. For every young Gambian who voted, contested, observed, or volunteered, you did not just participate in an election, you rewrote the rules of engagement in our electoral processes. You showed this country and you showed the world that we are no longer the leaders of tomorrow, we are the leaders of this very moment. Let us also be reminded that each elected youth parliamentarian in this election is somebody that is not more than specific, but someone who a trust is embedded in. This is not just representation, this is justice. And finally, for those who said that this cannot be organized or led by young people, look at us now at the tail end of it. We have transformed a once quiet, nearly forgotten structure into a national movement, from the fringes of attention to the center of policy and public discourse. We are not perfect, we are present, prepared, and powerful. So as we begin this press conference, let it be echoed beyond these walls that this election is not the end. It is the beginning of a new culture of youth participation, civic engagement, and democratic leadership. Let it be said that in July 2025, the Gambian young people led a peaceful national election with vision, integrity, and hope. And that we, the National Youth Parliament, are ready to keep building one constituency, one voice, one dream at a time. Thank you very much, and over to you, Maria.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of the National Youth Parliament after right over. Now, without wasting much time, I'll just go straight to the chairman of the National Elections Committee.
Distinguished members of the media, respected stakeholders, fellow citizens, and dear young people of this country. Good morning to you all. It is both an honor and a humbling responsibility to stand before you today, not only as the chairperson of the National Youth Parliament Electoral Commission, but as a witness of history, as a custodian of one of the most inspiring democratic process this country has ever seen, led entirely by the young people of this country. Today marks the official closure of the 2025 National Youth Parliament elections. A process has tested our will, challenged our resources, strengthened our system, and ultimately renewed our faith in the power of young people to lead with dignity, discipline, and devotion of public good. This election is not merely an administrative milestone, it is a national breakthrough, a declaration of an era of young inclusive is over, exclusive rather, it's over. A statement that the future has already arrived, and it speaks with the voice of young Gambians across all 53 constituencies. Allow me to walk you through the remarkable journey we undertook together, step by step, challenge by challenge, and victory by victory. We began this process with a bold and historic announcement. For the first time in NYP history, we will organize direct constituency-based election, fully participatory, youth managed and using paper ballots. These were not only innovative, but also inspiring. So there was no shortcuts, no selections, it was just democracy. And the second step we took was nominations and vetting. 172 nomination forms were received nationwide. 149 forms were submitted. After a rigorous criteria-based vetting process, 146 candidates were approved. 3 were disqualified due to fraudulent documentation and non-compliance. This was not about bureaucracy, it was about integrity and credibility. Again, we also considered a sobering gender reality that came out of this process, which was very disappointing for us. Out of 146 qualified candidates, 123 were male and only 23 were female. Just 15% representation. This was far from the 47 female representation we are currently holding in the National Youth Parliament, and it is a signal that we must do better. We must do better collectively. We call on all stakeholders, civil society, governments, families, and educators to act deliberately in empowering and preparing young women for leadership. Voter registration and education. Despite the initial non-funding, we launched a digital voter registration platform, overcame technical crises, rebuilt the system, and ensured a national access. The results were 23,111 young people registered to vote. We followed this with aggressive online and offline voter education to promote informed, peaceful, and meaningful participation. Again, to the polling and voting. Elections were conducted over a 3-day period across the 53 constituencies of this country. Due to logistical constraint, one polling station was established per constituency in order to, have every young Gambian access to vote. 10,378 young Gambians casted their votes peacefully. Ballots were counted on the spot in the presence of agents and observers. However, some issues warranted deep reflections, and the issue of Jara East incident, after the closure of polls and during the commencement of counting, a group of individuals, including supporters of certain candidates, decided to storm the polling station, attempted to forcefully influence the process. In the interest of safety and sanity of the vote, the returning officer, with the support of the Gambia Police Force, secured the ballot box and evacuated the materials and the team. Swiftly intervened. We held an open and honest dialogue with the affected candidates and stakeholders. Tensions were de-escalated, misunderstood address. Again, the voting of that, the votes from that constituency will be counted and announced. Again, we have another incident in Woolly East. where there was also allegations of interference. And of course, as a responsible impartial commission, we have escalated this issue to the petition panel, which will currently review these cases and actions will be taken. As of now, we have received 7 petitions from different candidates, which includes Tawinding, Ibo Town, and other candidates within the Greater Banjul area. These petitions will be taken seriously and will be sent to the petition panel, who will look into them and using both National Youth Parliament Constitution and bylaws to redress the grievances of those candidates. Let it be clear that we are also going to take all this seriously. We will act decisively, impartially, and full alignment with, of course, the Constitution and electoral laws of the National Youth Parliament. No candidate, no matter of their status or influence, is above these rules. Coming to the oversight and collaboration, throughout this process, we've worked with the Independent Electoral Commission, who trained and supported our team, the Gambia Police Force, whose professionalism ensured peaceful polling, and our partners, UNFPA and the European Union, Arts Academy, and more, who believes in our capacity translated into support on the ground. We thank you and thank everybody for their support. To our volunteers, the heart of it at all, selfless people who from morning to evening stood up to ensure that these cases were there, and they will always be there to ensure that there was free and fair elections. The unsung heroes carried ballot boxes across the regions and paved roads, conducted outreach in villages, and system forgot registered voters under the sun for no pay, only for the purpose. To them, we owe not only thanks, we owe legacy. Constituency breakdown. Here is a snapshot of the electoral statistics that we had. Constituencies covered were 53 constituencies nationwide, and the candidates contested were 146 candidates. The total vote cast was 10,378, and we had 43 invalid votes. And the total registration for the voters were 23,111. Breakdown of 39 selected constituencies. 124 candidates, 109 are male and 15 are female. Vote casted 6,042, and invalid votes was 43. These numbers reflect the passion, urgency, and readiness of young Gambians to engage in democratic process. And now to the official conclusion of this election. It is my honor to declare that the 2025 National Youth Parliament elections has been successfully conducted and concluded. And the newly parliamentarians will serve 3-year term acting as representative of young people in their constituencies with legitimacy of a democratic mandate. To that final reflection, it was more than an election. It was a lesson of courage, a victory for values over convenience, a statement that young Gambians are ready not just to participate, but to lead. We didn't wait for the conditions to be perfect. No. We made it imperfect count. We didn't wait for someone else to lead. We stepped up, we showed up, we stood tall. To every young person listening today, this is your win, your platform, and your moment. Let no one ever tell you that you wait for your turn. It is your turn now, and you are getting just started. So to read the constituencies and then the elected ones, except for the ones that are already pending, we have the pleasure of reading the constituencies and then the elected. I, Babu Karnen, the returning officer for the 2025 National Youth Parliament elections, hereby declare the following members of Parliament as elected for the National Youth Parliament 2025 elections. For West Coast Region, in the Sano-Menteng constituency, Sidi Mukhtar Bojang is duly elected as the member for National Youth Parliament election. Combo South, Yuriban Koli is the duly elected member. For Birkama North, Mohammed Sane is the duly elected member. For Busumbala constituency, Ibrahim H. Seka is the duly elected member. For all Yumbun constituency, Mariama Jadama is the duly elected member. For Kombo East, Salifur Dabo is the duly elected member. For Foni Kansala, Lamin Koli is the duly elected member. For Foni Berefet, Aliu Jamme is the duly elected member. And Foni Jarol, Amadou Ba is the duly elected member. For the North Bank region of the Gambia, in Lower Badibo, Abubakar Makalo is the duly elected member. Jokadu District, Yaya Mas is the duly elected member. Lower Yemi District, Musa Keta is the duly elected member. Open Yemi, Yoro Jame is the duly elected member. Sabak Sanjal, Bukari Gay is the duly elected member. Central Badibu, Chipoba is the duly elected member. And Ilyasa constituency, Mohammed Mustafa Jan is the duly elected member. In the Kanifing municipality, Latirikunda constituency, Hussein J. Sawane is the duly elected member. Aliu Badara Jallo of Bakau, for Bakau constituency rather, Aliu Badara Jallo is the duly elected member. For Talindi constituency, Mustafa Nsise is the duly elected member. For Joswan constituency, Abubakar Sise is the duly elected member. For Bundunka Kunda constituency, Umidabo is the duly elected member. And Serakunda West constituency, Ablai Samba is the duly elected member. In the Upper River region, for Basa constituency, Fode Sanyang is the duly elected member. For Wuli East constituency, Usman Keta is the duly elected member. For Sandu, Fansu Kamara is the duly elected member. For Kantora constituency, Bubakar Balde is the duly elected member. For the Central River region of the Gambia, Lower Salum, Modu B.F. Jara is the duly elected member. Upper Salum, Musa Abba is the duly elected member. Sami District, Abdullah S. Jallo is the duly elected member. Nyanja Alpha Njai is the duly elected member. Nyani District, Mariama Sala is the duly elected member. Nyamina East District, Mfamara FCC is the duly elected member. Upper Fuladu West, Jabu Sisao is the duly elected member. Lower Fuladu West, Yaya Gano is the duly elected member. For the Lower River region, as I said earlier on in my turn, we had a disputed result that we had a disputed issue in the Jara East, which the results are not yet counted. So therefore, the results is still pending, which of course the committee is working to ensure that the results is counted and then the members are notified. But for Jara West constituency, Mohammed K. Fati is the duly elected member. For Kiang West, Mami S. Njai is the duly elected member. And for Kiang East, Karan Suman Kasama is the duly elected members. So, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, these are the elected members of the National Youth Parliament for 2025 elections. We would like to thank each and every one of you for your support, especially our partners in the media, for always taking your time to join us in this press conference and deliberations that we've been doing. So we thank you and we will welcome questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, for giving out those results and also saying congratulations to all the elected youth parliamentarians that will stay at the affairs of youth activities and issues for 3 good years. And now I'll open the floor to the media. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand and then Mr. Chair or the able clerk will take it and answer questions. Any questions, please? Yes, your name and your media hat. And let you see. Okay.
No, the incident reported in Jara is unruly. There were some section of 121 not satisfying the election was conducted. National Youth Parliament was not considering the outcome of it, or why are you not anticipating anything that has to do with violence on the ground over there?
Yeah, of course, we are anticipating this because you see, this is elections and everybody has your right to say what you feel about the process. But again, that is not also going to stop the process from going as per our rules. So we knew there were going to be some hitches, disagreements there, but for us as youth parliament, we were sure that there were never going to be any violence. And thank God, you've never, with all these 3 days happening in all the constituencies, you didn't hear any violence. Whether physical, whether emotional, any type of such a violence was not meted to anyone. But you see, along the process of elections where you have politicians and you wish for people to vote for you, of course you can say or do anything. But why the Jara's case was exceptional was because the votes could not be counted there due to fragile situation. And what we demanded was that ballot box to be brought here, and we call the parties involved. Unfortunately for us, we have called on the parties here, and we are trying to do discussion with the parties amicably and agreeing on a consensus so that we can open that box in their presence and count it.
Okay, with the votes that are yet to be counted over there, can you guys give assurance of both candidates that the outcome of the counting will be transparent, free, and fair?
Of course, and as we were doing, most of these candidates us at National Youth Parliament, I think that is one of the biggest, how will I call it, biggest strength for us was we don't even know most of them. Like for me, even as the chair of this election, I will come be looking at you and somebody will read, this is the candidate, and say, no, candidate, you should not be here. So that already shows our impartiality. And also the team of NYP were all independent because that's what they sworn into that process. And that being the case also, that is why we also want fairness. We asked the presiding officer in that constituency to seal the ballot box in the presence of the office, of the police officers, and that be sent to us. Again, we have the list, we have the number of votes, cards that were there and everything that is at our disposal that we are going to use to ensure that there is transparency. But the rest assured for the media, for the people that are involved, that there will be transparency in the process.
What is the timeline that the final results is going to be announced already?
Today. Today.
At what time?
We can give time, but it's today.
And the boxes are going to be open in the presence of either the party, the
representatives also,
or their representatives.
Okay, I have another question. You know, I attended the last press conference that you guys conducted here. You know, you keep giving complaints about financial issues. Maybe that could be one of the major constraints you continue to face. How do you guys manage to conduct this kind of election in space of three days? How if there was financial challenges on the side?
And that shows the dedication of these young people who were only giving cause for them where they sleep. The rest, they don't care. They wanted it happen. They wanted the results to happen. And this was manifested by even the volunteers who were on the ground, who volunteered to say, I am coming for free to come and do this thing. Others even offered their own arrangements by vehicle, by anything to reach to that cause. So the thing was there, and it is a reality. We are on record that this was entirely done by a commitment of young Gambians who believe in the process.
So is there anything put in place for like in future elections we will conduct to avoid conducting elections in space of 2 days? Why can we make efforts by now to avoid such a scenario?
We are making full efforts, and that those efforts are telling people what we are doing.
I mean, to conduct an election one day, the same day as other elections are
No, that's okay. The election is like this.
So avoid 3 days duration.
But you see, that's not in our control. We are not the one giving funding for ourselves. So we do what is our disposal. And one of the things that is on our disposal is to tell people what we are doing. So now you as a media person carry this for us.
Whether would you not be able to
10 in at least 10 villages. But we didn't do that. And if we had done that, we would have had an opportunity for all those processes. But again, even in national elections, preparatory election, if you understand it, goes even beyond 3 days. Because first, the process of even having the presiding officers going to the field, clearing the events and everything was also one of the process. Us, we didn't do. Some of the schools that we held, even the election, we just imprompted them to say that here, we didn't receive any letter, please, we are coming to conduct, and we conduct. There was no advance team, there was no DSA, there was nothing that was sent in connection for that. Now, my appeal to you as a media is, in supporting the interests of young Gambian committee, that ESA would have been better. So when they agree, we say, no problem. You agree, we are doing it there. So also, for example, in Combo South, when we intended to do it in Gunjur, the candidates complain and say, no, it is not a neutral place, blah, blah. We change it from Gunjur to Sanya. So, those things, we just try at our level to ensure that there were neutrality on the ground, but mobilization was definitely purely from the people.
So you mentioned about the community that encountered during the
Yes.
so I'm still in the compare the previous election and this election. Do you guys have much in the previous this year?
Do we have much?
Like the more challenge face more challenge
In previous years. No, this is the most hectic election. For me, the most hectic process, even at national elections and even elections I've participated outside Gambia. This is the most hecticest one that I've ever put my shoes in. Because one, this is starting, we don't know where we're starting. Two, we're just trying to see how it will be inclusive with our best judgment to ensure that it was a free and fair process. So, of course, yeah, this is the most toughest one. The other one was easy. We'll just call regional clerks or regional members, tell them, please, it's coming to the Congress, bring your people, come do your report, and then we do the elections. But this one is a real defeat of the national elections, which we were trying to see how best we do. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, I am responsible.
Okay, Usman.
This one constituency. Candidate elected, I was a king of venue.
Yes.
Which he wasn't aware. Precisely from Nito sometimes to Kandiwa and KMC. And this happened without his knowledge or consent. This actually affected his house of mobility. What is your reaction?
Yeah, we've received the complaint from the candidate, and it has also been passed to the petition committee on that. Again, we are also going to see if this was our fault as a committee also. We're definitely going to look at that. But what we do is, like, normally there were changes in those things after many complaints, proximity, access, and everything. So, but whenever changes happen, we re-announce again to say that changes had happened. And to be honest, this had not only happened in that Kandiba, but even in many constituencies. And we will always send messages to say that, okay, of course, it was a heated period. Candidates were busy doing some things in the election. They might not have, been available to answer, to check those things. But to be honest, all those changes were redone again and said. Yeah.
Actually, the changes for, with your permission, Chair, the changes for Kandiba were made on Thursday. That was the day for deployment. The changes were made on Thursday, and they were communicated on Thursday, and the elections were held on Sunday. So there were a 3-day period. Yes, he might be right to say he has not seen the information, because we were not calling candidates directly to tell them we have made the changes. What we did was we established a WhatsApp platform for all the candidates, and they were on one WhatsApp platform. And whichever information we wanted to pass is we directly sent it on that platform. So changes were made on Thursday, and elections were held on Sunday.
Yes.
I'm more concerned about the female representation. Since inception, we have seen representation has been very low. If I stand to be corrected, looking at it, we only have 4 or 5 females that have been elected. Yeah, so as a youth sensible organization, what are you doing to close this gender gap? Or what are you advocating methods to bring more females on board?
Yeah, so one of the things is also in terms of inclusivity, we wanted these women also to come up with the courage of wanting to do the thing for themselves, rather than us saying, okay, we are getting you. Of course, as I said, we're going to have representatives from each region, 2 of them in each region, but that's not our wish to be carrying them along. We also want them to participate along the line. And as part of those participating on the line, we will try to develop a mechanism in trying to ensure that their participation is enhanced. And then in understanding that, we also give them courage for them to be able to take part in these positions for themselves, rather than only the quotas that we are bringing. Yeah. Yeah, there's also a woman quota system, but aside that also we need to put a place to encourage, like I said in my speech, civil society, religious communities, and everybody should encourage, so that when your child comes and your a girl child comes and say, I want to participate in the election of LYP, you're not there to say, so so those